This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new and updated Tata Punch EV facelift. It's almost 8 a.m. right now. We are in the heart of Cochin and the battery is at 100%. Now we have done a detailed walk around video of the Punch EV highlighting everything that you need to know about it, and you should check out that video on our channel if you haven't already. But for a quick recap, there are a few cosmetic changes both inside and out, but the bigger change comes in the form of a bigger battery pack and some engineering changes underneath. So the goal today is pretty simple. We drive this Punch EV facelift as much as we can in the limited time that we have with us today. We'll talk about the changes inside and out and how it has changed the way it drives, and we'll see how many kilometers it will cover by the time we have to return it. But before we go ahead, you know the drill. It's like, share, and subscribe to the Carandbike YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon as well so that you can be notified every time we bring out a new and informative video such as this one. Now, before we talk about how different is the new one to drive, let us take a look at all the changes both inside and out. Appearance-wise, the front bumper is new. It looks clean, uncluttered, and looks masculine thanks to its extension or jutting out of the bodywork. The tail lamps too are redesigned now with the cues taken from the ICE counterpart, and the subtle changes comes in the form of turning the black bumpers into grey. Smart, I would say, because over time the black surely turns into grey. So why not offer it right from the start? Apart from that, 3 new color options as well. That's all the changes on the exterior. Not a lot has changed, even less so on the inside. Because over here, sure, I admit this new not black cabin. Now what we have here is what Tata calls adventure grey. Now this entire cabin with this lighter hue feels more fresh and more airy than before. More importantly, the ergonomics, the aesthetics, everything is exactly the same. You get the same steering wheel, the same infotainment screen, even the same driver's display. Even the center console, the digital control, exactly the same. The seat hasn't changed either. Now, I expected that additional bolstering on the seats that we saw on the ICE counterpart, that hasn't been provided over here. There are 2 or 3 exterior changes. One, as I said, the cabin is now adventure grey instead of black. You also have new toggle switches for the window control. Now it is better than the one, especially the feel of it, because it feels metallic and it has a good premium feel to it. I'm not entirely on board with the design of sticking out, and I don't know which way to push for up or down, but it does feel premium. And the lock, that has changed. Instead of being one single unit, it has been given a split now. That's all the changes on the inside. And that's a good thing because the battery has increased. I'll talk more about the battery in some time, but the battery has increased, but the cabin hasn't reduced in space. Neither has the floorboard come up, neither has the cabin gotten even more compact, because yeah, I admit this is a compact cabin. And with this update, I thought little clever changes would make this even more spacious than before. That's not the case. But there are some clever changes here. What are those? Let's talk about them. And the big change under the skin comes in the form of a bigger battery pack. Out goes the 25 kilowatt and the 35 kilowatt battery pack, and it is now being replaced with 30 kilowatt and the 40 kilowatt battery pack in the medium range and the long range versions respectively. What we're driving here is the bigger 40 kilowatt battery pack. Now, before the facelift arrived, I thought Tata would include the either the discontinued 40.5 kilowatt battery pack from the Nexon EV, or even the bigger, the current 45 kilowatt battery pack here in the Punch directly from the Nexon. But this is not just a swap the battery pack and call it a day type of a swap, right? Because the Nexon EV is a bigger car. This is not that big. So swapping a relatively bigger battery pack in a theoretically smaller car did definitely pose some problems, and it shouldn't be possible, right? Other challenges were the weight, which in turn affected the ride quality and increased the rolling friction, which in turn definitely reduces the range. Packaging was another challenge because of the higher density. And they have also designed the newer algorithm for the battery management system, the BMS that they call it. But Tata says the new battery is 10% denser than before because it has swapped all the cylindrical battery cell to prismatic battery cell, which is theoretically denser than the cylindrical cells. It also has a wider temperature band, which means it can go 10% higher or lower temperature in the working condition. It also has a faster charging capacity, which is 1.5 C or 1.5 times the battery capacity. So a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack should give you 60 kilowatt of DC fast charging. In fact, Tata has also gone into finer details and paid attention to detail as well. Because in the earlier car, I used to face one problem where the AC would suddenly stop working. Now, the AC in this car, all of a sudden, it decides without any warning that you need to be a bit toasty. It increases the temperature out of nowhere without any warning. And the worst part is, you don't even know it because the temperature display is showing the normal temperature that you set it on. But the AC, it's emitting heat from the air vents. And it feels weird because you start feeling hot and you feel like your AC, it's kind of possessed. Now, they say the problem was that the coolant had a dual shift. It had to work on cooling the battery as well as working with the AC to cool the cabin. Now, when the battery temperature rose, the coolant had to turn its attention towards the battery cooling, and that's where the AC inside the cabin suffered. Now, they have identified this problem and rectified it by introducing something called as electronically controlled thermal expansion valve. Now, this one intelligently controls the coolant and it sends it right where it's needed and the amount that is needed so as the battery can be cooled and the cabin does not heat up at the same time. Now, that is what improving a product looks like. And then there's the new e-drive system, which is a first for Tata EV. In fact, what Tata has done basically is that with a newer battery pack, the weight has definitely gone up. But to compensate that additional weight and keep that weight, curb weight, tipping at exactly 1360 kgs, they have compensated that additional weight with a newer e-drive system. Now, what this e-drive system does is it combines six of the essential powertrain components or equipment into one single drive. Now, this is not exactly a new concept. International cars, more specifically Chinese cars, they have been using these multiple in or X in one e-drive system to make the powertrain more efficient and compact. Now, over here, the new e-drive system has a 50% smaller package size. It is 28% lighter in weight and has 6% better efficiency. And it also reduces the use of semiconductors for the components and the wiring harness. This 6-in-1 e-drive system is a first for Tata and it comes from the Punch EV. Incidentally, neither the Curve, the Nexon, nor the bigger Harrier EV gets that. But this is something that the future electric Tatas could look forward to. So that were all the changes that Tata has done under the skin. And that's quite a lot of changes if you ask me. And it's little changes that counts. But how does all of those changes come together to affect the way the new Punch EV is to drive on the Indian roads? The first thing that I immediately noticed right from the word go is how the throttle is to respond or to feel. Now, there's definitely a different calibration to the throttle response because I'm driving at city speeds right now. There's no regen at all when you have enough SOC. But even at a higher battery percentage with no regen, the throttle response or the throttle feel, it feels like there is some sort of brake energy regen going on in the background. The throttle feels tight, if you know what I'm trying to say. It is not exactly as quick or responsive. I'm not saying the car is not quick, I'm just saying the throttle, it doesn't feel as quick or responsive. But that said, the trait of the older Punch EV, it's still there. It's still smooth, it's still linear, it's still quite punchy, and it definitely retains that fun to drive character no matter what speeds you're doing. Now, I've driven in the bumper to bumper city traffic out here on the highway as well. The throttle may be tight, but the performance isn't. Before I tell you more about the feel of the car, a quick stat check. Now, so far, the battery is down to 90%. I've done 10% since morning and I've covered 30 kilometers, which means 30 at 10%, 100% should give you 300% any given day. That's a good improvement already because the older car used to do on our regular driving anything between 250 to 270. There's immediately 30 kilometers of improvement with a bigger battery pack. Let's see how the rest of the day goes. But talking about the steering, it doesn't feel like they have done anything to that. Now the steering, it feels nice and easy, has a good amount of artificial weight to it, not exactly very light, neither is it very responsive, very quick, but it does the job well. The steering has, as I said, good weight to it, enough dead center, very comfortable to live with in everyday driving conditions. I wish it had more connect because this is an EV. It needs a bit of a connect that you usually get in an IC car with that mechanical feel to it. Over here, it feels slightly soulless. The steering, especially in the city speed where it is devoid of any feel out on a highway, it is just weighing up without any cause. I wish it was slightly more communicative because overall the steering setup isn't exactly something to write home about. It is one of the most forgettable trait of the Punch EV. But to be honest, that's not exactly a bad thing in my opinion. Now, although Tata says that there's no change in the weight, there's definitely some amount of recalibration that has gone into the suspension setup. Because, like before, it is still very well absorbent. It takes in sharp creases, bumpers, irregularities, even badly made speed breakers nicely and easily. The dampers are really good and it settles in nicely, be it the city speed or highway speed, going flat over every surfaces without sending anything inside the cabin. As I said previously about the older Punch EV, the suspension setup was one of the best reason why you should buy the Tata car. And the older one which I had as a long-termer, it kind of ruined me because that's how good its suspension setup was. That has been retained over here. It is slightly, I would say, 5 to 10% stouter than before, which could be because this is slightly new car. The one I had, it almost had 50,000 kilometers on the odometer. But overall, this feels stout, but at the same time, it doesn't give you all of those unwanted body movements when you are changing direction or carrying highway speeds. This is one fabulous suspension setup, and that's one of the biggest reasons why you should buy this car. Coming back to performance, now Tata says the acceleration is quicker. Earlier one, it used to do 0 to 100 in little over 9 seconds, around 9 to 9.5 seconds. This one is 0.9 or even in fact under 9 seconds. Now in reality, the acceleration, it does feel quicker. Now, although the throttle, as I said, it doesn't feel as light as before, it feels tighter somehow, but the acceleration, it's still there. It picks up speed and it goes like anything. And now I'm doing triple digit speed on the highway right now, and I'm barely using 20 or 25% of the throttle input. Now, this is one quick car that is fun to drive. The power is right there at your disposal to use it, and that instant EV delivery makes all of it that much fun. Time for another stat check. Now we have just clocked 60 kilometers. The roads are fantastic and fabulous here in Cochin, and battery, it's down to 79%. The DTE, it's still reading a healthy 260 kilometers. Now if you add 260 and 60 that we have driven so far, that gives you a realistic driving range of 320 kilometers. That also includes a few minutes of idling when we were shooting the static of this car, and also some quick acceleration when doing the dynamic shots. But 320 kilometers in the realistic condition, that sounds a healthy figure. Can it do 350 kilometers? Well, we'll have to wait and watch. Another thing that has improved with this update is the charging capacity. Now, like all other Tata models, when they got an update of any sort, they received something called as C1.5. What it basically means is take your battery capacity, multiply it by 1.5, and that's your new maximum charging capacity. Now, the previous Punch that we had as a long-termer, it never used to charge more than 30 kilowatt charging capacity, no matter which capacity charger, we plugged it in. Now this one with 40 kilowatt hour battery capacity, multiply it by 1.5 gives you a 60 kilowatt of DC fast charging support. And you can also add almost 135 kilometers of range in just 15 minutes of charging. So you can actually do intercity travels while topping up in the time it takes for you to grab a coffee. Now, the Punch EV that we had, we used to do intercity travels with it. However, it required a lot of planning and waiting. A couple of Mumbai Pune trips was done, but on the way back, it needed a proper charge. Even trips from Mumbai to Nasik and back needed a proper charging. This one would also need a charge on the way back in an intercity travel because 300 kilometers is good enough for one way, but having a fast charger and you know that your car can charge at a higher capacity, it gives you that little confidence. It reduces the range anxiety and it also makes your car a better overall package. The one thing that I wish the older Punch EV could improve upon with this update, Tata has listened and Tata has delivered. So there you have it. We have driven 105 kilometers since morning. The battery is down to 62% and the DTE is stated at 210 kilometers. Now the consumption is stated at 130 watt hour per kilometer. Even that, if you divide by the battery capacity, it will give you around 310 to 350 kilometers of realistic driving condition. Now for the test, we drove it in the city, we drove it on the highway, we encountered some bumper to bumper traffic, also stayed stationary for some time, and overall we kept the AC temperature at 23 with auto setting. Almost all the setting is like an average buyer would use in an everyday condition. Not hypermiling it, not gunning it either. So that's the realistic driving range that you could expect from the new Tata Punch EV. Over 300 kilometers. Is that enough for you? Our dear buyers, let us know in the comment section below. It also needs to be mentioned that with this update, Tata has done something unusual. Usually with any update, the prices go up, irrespective of whether something has changed or not. But with this facelift, there are a lot of changes. Bigger battery, faster charging, also more range, less wait time. Driving isn't compromised either. And overall, the new Punch EV becomes more well-rounded product, and at the same time, the prices have gone down too. The introductory range shopping price is almost 2 lakh rupees less than the outgoing model, and to attract more buyers, there's also BaaS, that's battery as a service, which makes the Punch even more enticing for the first-time buyers. So the Tata Punch EV facelift is more, but you pay less for it, and that's one way to shake up the Indian EV scenario. And that's all from me in this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit that like button and share this video with someone who's looking to buy a small family car and they may consider the EV and may consider buying the Tata Punch EV facelift. And if you have any other questions regarding this car which I didn't cover in the course of this video, do write them down in the comments as well, and I promise we will address them all personally. And that's all from me in this video. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.